I want to thank everyone for coming back to the roller coaster we're on. And I'm going to start, I think, I got to see where it is. Yeah. Anybody know what tomorrow is, the anniversary of? Tomorrow's the anniversary of Patrick Henry's Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death.
Oh, I love Patrick Henry. I didn't know.
Last year, I read the speech, and I think that they were suffering with a lot of the same problems we are. You know, some different circumstances. But what I did is I took Patrick Henry's speech and put in some modern problems we have in it and did a retake of that. Cliff, who's up here talking, videoed this last year. We put it up on Facebook and put it out there on the anniversary of Patrick Henry's speech, and hopefully this will work.
No one believes in true patriotism more than the people in this room, myself included. But different people often see the same subject in different ways, and therefore, I hope it will not be considered disrespectful to those people by my presenting opinions opposite to theirs, freely and without reservation. This is no time for political correctness and nicety. The question before us concerns the callous and unwavering path of destruction our country is on. I consider it nothing less than a question of freedom or slavery, and as a consequence to the magnitude of the subject, there should be freedom of debate. It is only in this way that we can hope to arrive at truth and fulfill the great responsibility to which we have to God and our country. If I hold my opinions in fear of offending, I would consider myself guilty of treason towards my country and act with disloyalty towards the majesty of heaven, which I revere above all earthly kings. It is natural for people to indulge in the illusions of hope. People tend to shut their eyes against painful truths. Are we included in the mass of the people who have eyes and do not see, and have ears that cannot hear the things which will truly save us from our present path of moral, physical, and political destruction? Should that be the direction of wise men engaged in a struggle for liberty? For me, whatever anxiety, pain, or fear may cause, I am willing to know the whole truth, and know the worst, and then provide for it. I have only one lamp to guide my feet, and that is the lamp of experience. I know of no way of judging the future except by the past. And judging by the past, I wish to know what conduct the United States Congress, the President, and the Supreme Court for the last 60 years is there to justify the hopes of the American people that there has been a good faith effort to return to and obey the United States Constitution. Is it the insidious smile and ever-changing promises of politicians? Stop trusting these deceiving promises. We cannot allow ourselves to be betrayed by promises from these political leaders any longer. Their promises are nothing more than the kiss of Judas. Let's look at their reactions to our protests and ask ourselves a few questions. They have created swarms of militaristic federal agencies and policies such as Homeland Security, Patriot Act 1, Patriot Act 2, the Military Commissions Act, the NDAA, the never-ending assault on the Second Amendment designed to disarm the American people. The public notice given by President Obama that he has granted himself the authority to kill American citizens for the purpose of expediency rather than give them due process of law. Is this militaristic buildup necessary for a work of love and reconciliation or due process of law? Have we shown ourselves to be so unwilling to work with the federal government that force must be called in to win back our love and support? Let us not deceive ourselves. These domestic standing armies are the implements of war and subjugation, the last argument to which dictators resort. I ask, what is the meaning of this domestic militaristic buildup if its purpose is not to force us into submission? Can we rationally assign any other possible motive for it? Does the United States have any domestic enemy so large to call for this massive militaristic accumulation? No, she has not. They are meant for us. They can be meant for no one else. They are created to bind and rivet upon us the chains which the United States government has been forcing for the past 150 years. And what do we have to oppose them? Shall we try more public protest? getting involved in political action committees, voting. We've been trying these avenues decade after decade. We have held this subject up in every light that is capable, and remedy has proven to be in vain. Shall we try more desperate and more humble pleas? What path can we find which has not already been exhausted? Let us not deceive ourselves any longer. We have done everything that could be done inside their corrupted and usurped system. We have petitioned. We've remonstrated. We have supplicated. We have prostrated ourselves. Our petitions and demonstrations have been disregarded. We have been patronized and demonized. And in all this, most patriotic Americans cling to the fond hope of a peaceful return to state rights and a constitutionally limited federal government. What gives them this hope? There's no longer any room for hope. If we wish to be free, if we mean to live in a land of law where the constitutions of the states and the federal government are adhered to, and the federal government is truly limited, and we have true state rights, we must fight. I repeat it, we must fight and appeal to law, truth, and to the God of hope is all that is left to us. They tell us we're weak, unable to cope with so formidable an adversary. But when will we be stronger? Will it be next week or next year? Will it be when we're totally disarmed and when government cameras are placed on every street corner? Shall we gather strength by victory and inaction? Shall we acquire the means of effectual resistance by lying supinely on our backs and hugging the elusive phantom of hope until our enemies shall have bound us hand and foot? We're not weak if we make a proper use of the means which God has placed in our power. Hundreds of thousands of Americans armed in the holy cause of liberty, under God with the true history of the criminal acts of the 36th and the 40th United States Congresses, are invincible by any force which our enemy can send against us. Besides, we shall not fight our battles alone. There is a just God who provides over the destiny of nations, and who will rise up friends to fight our battles for us. The battle, sir, is not to the strong alone, it is to the vigilant, the active, the brave. Besides, if we are shameful enough to desire, it is now too late to retire from the contest. There is no retreat, but in submission and slavery, our chains are forged. Their clanking may be heard in the halls of Congress, CBS, CNN, the New York Times, and MSNBC. It is in vain to minimize the matter. People may cry, peace, peace, but there is no peace. The war of segregating lawful American states and their citizens is not something that might happen in the future. It is here now, and it is real. What benefit is there by standing idle? What is it that people wish? What do we want? Is life so dear, or peace so sweet, as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death.
Do they have the same problems we have? Kind of. They had an overbearing government that was not intent on securing the rights of the people. We have the same thing. What I want people to bring out of that is we got to give up our delusion of hope. That hope is in that system, and they are there for our benefit. If someone can give me one shred of evidence, I mean, I feel like Lot in Sodom talking to God. Is there one good, I mean, if there's 50, God, will you save it? I mean, no. There's no evidence. There is no evidence that Congress, the government, as a body, is there to protect the Constitution and the rights of the American people. It's not there. But what happens is you get one or two, and they say these really nice things, and all of a sudden everybody's got the illusion of hope while we're losing everything. I want you to mentally graph in your minds the direction America is going in fiscally, financially. What direction are we going in? I want you to graph in your mind what direction morally we're going. I want you to graph in your mind, freedom-wise, which way are we going? Has voting or anything, remember the 96 or 94, 92, whenever that was, the landslide?
Yes. 94.
That was, we're on this graph. So from 94 till now, as a graph, did they slow it down? Because the issue isn't to slow it down. The issue is to turn it around. Did they even slow it down?
No.
Did everything get steeper after voting the way they said? We've got the illusion that voting and usurpers are going to give rights back to the people. Give up on that hope. Okay, let's start talking a little bit about North Carolina. Obviously, I'm born and raised in North Carolina. I know North Carolina. We reestablished North Carolina. I'm going to show you a little bit more of what happened here, because Garland had a slide up of reasons for secession. Remember that? He went through several different states. Let's talk about North Carolina. We were one of the holdouts. It says, we held a state election on February 28, 1861. When is Lincoln inaugurated? March 4th. So it's like 5 days later. Okay? North Carolina held a state election on February 28 on whether to hold a convention for secession. Not on whether we're going to secede or not, but a convention where we'll discuss secession. The call for convention was defeated by 651 votes. North Carolina had voted to stay in the Union. We're not leaving. 4 days before Lincoln is inaugurated. Official vote of the people, we're staying in the Union. Citizens held the belief that the federal government could not force one state to wage war on another. April 12, 1861, Fort Sumter's fired upon. April 15th, 1861, Lincoln calls Governor John Ellis of North Carolina to provide 2 regiments of troops to put down the rebellion. War is inevitable, and North Carolina must decide whether to fight the North or the South. Okay, so we were not in the early secession emotional times. Here's North Carolina Governor John Worth's response to Abraham Lincoln's call for 2 regiments of troops. That's the actual handwritten document there. Here's what it says. Your dispatch is received, and this is the entirety of the correspondence. Your dispatch is received, and if genuine, which its extraordinary character leads me to doubt, I have to say in reply that I regard the levy of troops made by the administration for the purpose of subjugating the states of the South as in violation of the Constitution and as a gross usurpation of power. I can be no party to this wicked violation of the laws of the country and to this war upon the liberties of a free people. You can get no troops from North Carolina.
Yeah.
From Abraham Lincoln's perspective, how do you wage war on people to make them free? Can't happen. This time frame is such a perversion. This right here, now that was the beginning of the war. Here's Governor Jonathan Worth here on the left and Governor William Woods Holden on the right. William Woods Holden is the governor under the Reconstruction, the new created state of North Carolina. Jonathan Worth is the governor under the old Constitution of North Carolina as it was at the time. And just a bit of history, William Woods Holden up there on the right is the only governor of North Carolina ever successfully impeached and removed from office. The one put in place by Reconstruction. And let's just read a couple sentences out of this. Let's see. Actually, I'm going to go up. I'm going to read more of it. It says, yesterday morning, I was verbally notified by Chief Justice Pearson that in obedience to a telegram from General Canby, he would today at 10 a.m. administer to you the oaths required preliminary to your entering upon discharge of duties of the state, duties of civil governor of the state, and that thereupon you would demand possession of my office. Okay, that was not good. Oh, wait a second. Come loose right here. Let's see if this is going to get us up and running.
There you go.
Success. Okay. Sorry about that. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord on amen. It says, yesterday, civil government stated that I am in possession of my office. I intimated to the judge my opinion that such proceeding was premature, even under the Reconstruction legislation of Congress, and that I should probably decline to surrender the office to you. This is the surrender letter of the state of North Carolina to the United States government, July 1st, 1868. When was the war over? 1865. Was North Carolina in the Union in 1865?
Yes.
Was it in the Union in 1866?
Yes.
Why are we, was the war over in 1866 by presidential proclamation? Why are we surrendering to the state government in 1868? Now, well, to put a little history of what's going on at this time, is the new state of North Carolina, one created by Reconstruction, was admitted into the Union June 25th, 1868. So this is a week later. Okay? So this, and it was vetoed by Andrew Johnson. Andrew Johnson vetoed the admission of these new states. Okay?
They override him?
Oh, the exact same day he vetoed it. One of the things that happened, and you can probably appreciate this, is Congress, the radical Republicans had a supermajority in Congress where they could override every veto. Kind of way, you know, Obamacare type stuff. You know, you can't get rid of it. You know, nothing could be done. So North Carolina, and so this is a letter from the governor of North Carolina to the governor of North Carolina. Okay, that's who this letter's to. And that's what he's talking about. The judge is going to administer the oath to the new governor to take office, and he's going to demand possession of his office. It said, at sundown yesterday evening, I received from Colonel Williams, Commandant of this military post, an extract from General Orders number 120 of General Canby as follows. And it says, to facilitate the organization of the new state government, the following appointments are made. To be governor of North Carolina, W.W. Holden. Appointments. By who? United States military. Governors being put in place by military appointments. Does this sound bizarre to you?
Yeah.
Does it sound almost third worldish?
Yeah.
To be governor of North Carolina, elect Vice Jonathan Worth removed. To take effect July 1st, 1868, on the meeting of the General Assembly of North Carolina, which is on this day. And Jonathan Worth goes on and says this. Now, I got this last paragraph here. He says, I do not recognize the validity of the late election under which you and those cooperating with you claim to be invested with the civil government of the state. You have no evidence of your election, save the certificate of a Major General of the United States Army. I regard all of you as, in effect, appointees of the military power of the United States, and not as deriving your powers from the consent of those you claim to govern. Knowing, however, that you are backed by military force here, which I could not resist if I would, I do not deem it necessary to offer a futile opposition. It's necessary to offer futile opposition, but vacate the office without the ceremony of actual eviction, offering no further opposition than this, my protest. I would submit to actual expulsion in order to bring before the Supreme Court of the United States the question as to the constitutionality of the legislation in which you claim to be the rightful government of the state, if the past action of that tribunal furnish any hope of a speedy trial. I surrender the office to you under what I deem military duress, without stopping, as the occasion would well justify, to comment upon the singular coincidence that the present state government is surrendered, as without legality to him whose own official sanction but 3 years ago declared it valid. What do you call it when you have the military goes in to a government, state, country, whatever,
coup.
and removes the people and puts its appointees in its place. Military coup. Are we taught that's what Reconstruction was about? We're told that Reconstruction was readmitting the states after they had seceded from the Union. This is just a readmittance of Georgia and North Carolina. Y'all were just readmitted. No, we weren't. They were the original states annulled. The body politics changed to loyal people, to U.S. citizens, anyone born in the United States, and a new government was created for them. This is the admittance of new states, not the readmittance of the original states. And this is the military order number 120. This is what he was writing from. This is the order, the military order that removed the governor of North Carolina.
You know, I got a question. I thought the commander-in-chief was in control of the military. How is it that the Congress was able to move the military in?
We don't have time to get into that. Okay? You got to remember, Andrew Johnson's being impeached. He's going through impeachment processes. They are all over him. He's being impeached for what they said was the office of the president is to execute the laws of the land. They passed Reconstruction. His duty is to execute the laws of the land, which is Reconstruction. Fundamentally, that's it. Okay, we got to start thinking, what is a state? Because that's what we're talking about. State rights, original states, first state, second state. What's a state? A state, in its most enlarged sense, it signifies a self-sufficient body of persons united together in one community for the defense of their rights and to do right and justice to foreigners. In this sense, the state means the whole people united into one body politic. The state and the people of the state are equivalent expressions. A state is the people. Now, out there in the community of people in the country, there's a lot of people who talk about individual sovereignty, people being sovereign. Okay? That has nothing to do with what this is talking about. The body as the people as a body are sovereign through their legislature. The legislature is sovereign, not sovereign individuals. The only way you can have the only sovereign individuals out there are kings and dictators and emperors. That's the sovereign. Okay? In this country, the people are sovereigns rather than kings and dictators and emperors. The people as a body exercising through their legislature. Which means this is what the states originally were. The people, who are the body politic, form the state. That's where the sovereignty resides. Sovereignty resides in the state. Sovereignty resides in the people. Sovereignty resides in the body politic. The body politic holds sovereignty. The body politic is the people. The body politic is the state. Okay, that's what it is. The people, the state, it's all the same thing. Sovereignty resides in all that. Synonymous terms. Here's what we have today. The people is Congress. The state is the United States government. Sovereignty resides in the government. The body politic is Congress. People are Congress. Body politics Congress. Sovereignty United States. We're not in there. It was nationalized. And where does all national power reside? In the Congress. In all national power. That's why it's important to have federal powers back in place. Federal authorities. Here's what happened in North Carolina, and you'll have to do your research on Georgia. Constitution of December 18th is, who was North Carolina for? You know, the original North Carolina. Who was it for? When you read the preamble, this is wherefore it becomes necessary that government should be established in this state. Therefore, we, the representatives of the freemen of North Carolina, chosen to assemble in Congress, for the express purpose of framing a constitution under the authority of the people, blah, blah, blah. This is the group of people. We had our Constitution in 1776 that fought for political independence from Great Britain. It's this body of people, and this is who can vote. They're all freemen at the age of 21. They can vote in the Senate, all freemen here. This is the Constitution of 1868. This is what Congress gave us. Now, who's the body politic? Who are the people? Every person born in the United States and every person been naturalized 21 years of age, possessing qualifications set out in this article, shall be entitled to vote in any election by the people of the state, except as herein otherwise provided. Is that the same body of people?
Yeah.
We're all familiar with the European Union. The European Union is actually kind of set up like the United States was originally. It's a union of sovereign bodies, united together with certain national concepts. They have a coin of money, the euro. They do certain things, but they don't reign over everybody. Every state retains its sovereignty here. Now, is there a difference between only the citizens of France being allowed to vote in France and every person born in the European Union can vote in France?
Yeah.
Has France fundamentally changed at that point? Big time. It's not the same body. What did Reconstruction do? Change the states from Georgia, the freemen of Georgia who had their rights under British common law, to anyone born in the United States who lives in Georgia, whose loyalty is to Congress, where Congress is the sovereign. That's what's changed. I mean, don't we feel it?
Yes.
I mean, isn't that what we're railing against? Isn't that what we see evidence of every time we go out there, every time we pick up the newspaper, does anyone have newspapers anymore? Every time we get on the internet, it's like, look at all these abuses. They can't do this. Because we're looking at their federal limitations, not their national unlimitations. They're unlimited. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, Congress will pass exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over its domain. We are a fractured people. A state is a body of common people, common beliefs. Because what happens if you can start dividing the people up to where they infight and they can't come together? What's the old maxim of law that every conqueror wants to use? Divide and conquer. Divide and govern. They want the American people divided up to where you can't come together on anything. They say that we get our strength through diversity. Nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing can be further from the truth. You don't get strength by division. That would be like saying, you know what would make Israel stronger? They just need to get some Buddhists and a couple Muslims and maybe some Hindus all in their legislative body. They'd be stronger then. Would they be stronger then?
No.
Because now you have people with conflicting ideas who aren't common, trying to implement conflicting ideas, which imposes one group upon another, and now it's being done just through who has the most political will. And now we're not exercising the rights of everyone. They're being dictated to us. How many people feel like government represents your rights, or they pass things and dictate them down to us? Which one?
Dictate them to us.
Okay? We've got an issue, and we see the evidence of it. And we got to deal with the real evidence. Terms to know: de facto and de jure, or de jure. De facto government, one that maintains itself by a display of force against the will of the rightful legal government and is successful, at least temporarily, in overturning the institutions of the rightful legal government by setting up its own in lieu thereof. A de facto government is a government of fact. It's there. Okay? The issue is whether it's there lawfully, where it's there justly. De facto government is there. So when you say de facto government, you're not talking about a nullity that is just going to go away. They're there. They're going to implement their will. But you got to learn how to overcome that. Government de jure, a government of right, the true and lawful government. A government established according to the Constitution of the nation and lawfully entitled to recognition and supremacy and the administration of the nation, but which is actually cut off from power or control. A government deemed lawful or deemed rightful or just, which nevertheless has been supplanted or displaced, that is to say, which receives not presently, although it received formally, habitual obedience from the bulk of the community. Okay? A de facto government, a de jure government. We have, in my belief, what I present, what I've looked up, every bit of evidence I can find, we have a de facto government in place today. And there is a right to have de jure government. Don't we have a right to lawful government?
Yes.
I mean, would you stand up for rightful government if you had it? Because that's going to be the main question. The main question, one of the main questions, got several of them that are going to come up here in the next two sessions, is the decision has to be made. Is the government in place, the state government in place today, is it lawfully created? Is it constitutionally authorized to operate? Or is it de facto, where it was put in place by force and coercion, military orders against the will of the people?
Yes.
And you got to make a decision and fall on one side or the other. And this is not a pleasant place to be in looking at what we've got in this country and decisions we've got to make. But if we want lawful government, number one, we've got to know whether we have a right to it back, whether there is a lawful possibility out there. And then we've got to figure out, how do we deal with that? How do we get it back in place? And that's what we'll be doing a little bit later. Again, two-party politics. This is North Carolina. June 25th, 1868, 39th state to enter the American Union by military order number 120 via Reconstruction for U.S. citizens residing in North Carolina. I look at a North Carolina voter registration. You can probably look at a Georgia voter registration. You'll probably find, as I found in North Carolina, a North Carolinian is not allowed to vote in North Carolina. It's not even on your voter registration application. You're required to swear under penalty of perjury. Class 1 felony, $25,000 well, I don't know about Georgia. Fine, imprisonment, or both, that you are, in fact, a U.S. citizen. You got to swear that. You're giving testimony of who you are. You're giving your allegiance to them. I'm giving allegiance to this system, this set of circumstances we've been talking to. And again, in North Carolina, 12th state to enter the American Union was for the freemen, the free people of North Carolina. You know, freeman's gotten a bad rap lately. It's just a legal term under British common law. You know, that's all it is. De jure and de facto. And what we did in North Carolina, and this is, we're outside the box. I'll just say that. Our founding fathers, were they inside the box or outside the box?
Outside.
Outside the box. Because after a while, inside the box doesn't work anymore.